My nosy neighbor tried to ruin me, and fell into his trap. My name is Cole Jennings, and I live in a seemingly quiet neighborhood where most people keep up appearances and mask their curiosity with polite smiles. But Greg Baxter, my neighbor across the street, doesn't hide anything. He doesn't subscribe to the facade of suburban courtesy. He lives to observe, to pry into others' lives, to point out what he considers abnormal, and to feed his need for control by spreading rumors as if they were absolute truths. His obsession with watching others is so obvious it borders on pathological, and from the very first day I crossed that street with my moving boxes, his attention zeroed in on me like a relentless spotlight. Since I moved in, Greg became obsessed with me. At first, I thought he was just a curious neighbor, but I was wrong. He was meticulous, calculating, and extremely persistent. He took notes on everything: what time I left, who I spoke to, what I ordered for delivery, how long I was gone. He even recorded what kind of clothes I wore, whether or not I greeted people, and every little detail he could use to build his story. Then he started talking about me to the other neighbors. At first, it was light gossip, that I had strange friends, that I worked from home because I was hiding something, that suspicious packages always arrived at my door. Comments said with an ironic tone during neighborhood meetings, comments people initially laughed at, until they stopped sounding funny. Greg knew how to slide in his ideas subtly, how to plant doubt without appearing to be the source, and it worked. Then the rumors turned darker and more aggressive. He insinuated I sold drugs, that I had a criminal past, that I had hidden cameras to spy on the neighborhood kids, that I was a threat to the community. He began saying my movements were unusual, that I had visitors at inappropriate hours, that my behavior was unstable. He even dared to suggest I might be involved in serious crimes, using phrases like "I don't have proof," but, or "just a hunch," and although he had no real evidence, he repeated his insinuations with such confidence that they started to sound believable, all without proof. All born from his paranoia and his need to control what he didn't understand. His goal was clear: to isolate me, scare me, drive me out of the neighborhood, or make me lose credibility. And for a while, he succeeded. People started looking at me differently. Some avoided greeting me. Others whispered when I passed by, and I started to live with the constant feeling of being watched, analyzed, judged. He called the police twice for suspicious noises that never happened, including one occasion when he claimed to hear shouting in the middle of the night, when I wasn't even home. He sent anonymous letters to the neighborhood board, accusing me of disturbing the peace and having inappropriate behavior around minors, a false and extremely serious accusation. He even posted fake screenshots in the neighborhood group chat, digitally manipulated to make it look like I was committing minor crimes, supposed images of me vandalizing a street sign or tampering with the neighbor's packages. He also left anonymous notes in my neighbors' mailboxes, urging them to protect the neighborhood from someone like me. I became the perfect target for his paranoia, the ideal enemy for channeling his frustrations. And gradually, people started treating me differently. Conversations would stop when I walked into a room. Some parents would cross the street to avoid me. My reputation vanished without me saying a single word, until I decided to do something about it. I didn't yell. I didn't confront him directly. I didn't play into his game. What I did was worse. I became exactly what he said I was. Just for a little while, I started acting strange, but subtly. I received suspicious-looking envelopes right in front of his window. I left my garage open with neon lights inside, as if something shady was happening. I laughed to myself in the middle of the night, pretended to whisper to someone in low tones. I moved around unmarked cardboard boxes, went in and out of the basement with backpacks, constantly glanced out the window like I was waiting for someone. I even installed blinking lights at the back of my house, just visible from his window. On one occasion, I left my laptop open on the porch with fake code running on the screen, just so Greg would think I was involved in something illegal. I made sure every one of my actions could be interpreted as proof of his wildest theories. I let him poison himself with his own assumptions, let him feel victorious in confirming his suspicions. Because while he convinced himself he was about to expose a criminal, I was just handing him the rope to hang himself. And as expected, Greg didn't take long to do what he'd been dying to do for months. He sued me. He accused me of harassment, public disturbance, and being a threat to neighborhood safety. He presented screenshots, manipulated recordings, statements from neighbors he'd already poisoned with his paranoia. He had a neatly compiled file full of half-truths wrapped in lies. He was so sure of his victory. He arrived in court smiling, greeting everyone like he'd already won. What he didn't know was that every one of his arguments would be his downfall. But in court, everything changed. Greg walked in confidently, file in hand, with a lawyer clearly less prepared than mine. When it was his turn, he presented his evidence with theatrical confidence, cropped recordings, biased testimonies, edited screenshots. Even some neighbors testified, clearly influenced by his constant narrative. Then my lawyer stepped in. One by one, he showed the full videos uncut, security footage, and audio recordings where it was clear that everything I had done was an act. None of my actions were real. Everything had been carefully staged to provoke exactly the reaction Greg had. Then he showed screenshots proving Greg had edited his own evidence, and even leaked audio where Greg openly said, "I'll make that. I pay even if I have to make some stuff up." The courtroom fell silent. The judge frowned, visibly angry. And in the end, he didn't just dismiss Greg's lawsuit for being baseless. He authorized my countersuit, defamation, repeated harassment, and invasion of privacy. At that moment, Greg's expression completely changed. He went from arrogance to panic in seconds. He was no longer the hunter. He was the prey, trapped by his own lies, surrounded by evidence he had created himself. The judge issued an immediate restraining order and a symbolic fine that, though small, carried enormous public shame. The story spread quickly throughout the neighborhood. Those who once avoided me now approached me to apologize. The parents who used to cross the street now greeted me with a mix of respect and regret. Greg never came out to his yard after that. He deleted his social media, covered his windows with cardboard as if he could hide from public judgment. Sometimes, I'd see him peeking through a crack, as if waiting for it all to blow over, as if he didn't know how to live with having been exposed. And me, I got my peace back. Not just on the outside, on the inside too. I knew no one would believe his lies again.